Hello, everyone. This is Dan Riley for Sports Talk. 2020 was a difficult year for all of us, though harder for some than others, and it actually ended a decade that will go down in history as one of the most tumultuous in quite a long while. On the sports side of things, the games we watch have lost their innocence as much as we have. Doesn't feel good, does it? At the beginning of the decade, the National Football League started to take steps to curtail the concussion crisis after decades of refusal to admit their dangers. No longer are we so quick to celebrate a huge hit like we did 25 years ago. Meanwhile, Kansas City Chiefs linebacker Jovan Belcher carried out a murder-suicide that sticks in the craw of Kansas City, Missouri's fans and citizens. Tom Brady left the Pats for Tampa Bay at the end of the decade, killing the Patriots dynasty in its tracks. Baseball finally started drug testing, meanwhile, but what really caught our attention was the drop into mediocrity of the New York Yankees, who actually took the field on opening day to empty seats a couple years ago. Something none of us thought we'd see in our lifetimes. Meanwhile, Sports Illustrated put together a damning report accusing teams of taking advantage of human trafficking in order to find prospects. College football and basketball were finally exposed as exploiting their athletes for a quick payday in a time where people in the United States were starting to question the value of sending their kids off to a big university at all. Things got uglier thanks to a sex abuse scandal on Penn State's football team. Basketball? Well, we'll remember professional basketball's role in starting the quote-unquote cancellation party, if you will, that wiped out most sports for months in the 2020 pandemic, as well as Kobe Bryant's tragic death. Now, the NBA did provide us a bright spot with the city of Cleveland's first pro sports championship of any kind since the 1960s. In short, though, we find ourselves more than willing to say good riddance to the sports world of the 2010s. It was a decade where we were stuck dealing with too much off-the-field drama instead of the action you and I love so much. One of the few follies, if you will, were the alternate football leagues that came and went. The next decade will provide sports a chance to reset, a chance for us to wonder, say, who takes up Tom Brady's mantle when he retires in the near future? Will the Yankees return to prominence, or is baseball in an unexpected age of parity none of us saw coming? Who will take on the role of the face of the NBA once LeBron hangs him up in a few years? That's what I'm looking forward to, and so are many of you, I'm sure. For that matter, maybe we'll see if the NBA puts an expansion franchise in Seattle after the Sonics left for Oklahoma City. That's the feeling we get with the 2020s underway, the feeling of a new era in sports, as in life, that will be much, much easier to swallow than this past decade. Hope, excitement. Nowadays, sports is so ingrained in pop culture that any real-world problems like politics or public crises could weasel their way onto the field or court. The decade did make it easier to communicate with our favorite athletes on Twitter and other social media, and guys were allowed to show who they are off the field or court. More of that, please. That was great. The NFL gave us that feeling, seeing the game's stars help out with charity causes in an age where we expect an episode of Playmakers to break out during the week leading up to a game. It allowed us to know movies like Any Given Sunday aren't the whole picture of the NFL or any major professional sport. Allowing basketball stars to show their humanity in interviews has let us see they're really not that much different than most young adults. They just got really lucky. That's the thing we can take away from the last 10 years of professional sports. In a decade where we saw too much tragedy and controversy in life on the field and off, our favorite athletes showed us what we hoped they were: human beings. We find ourselves realizing Zion Williams or Tom Brady are made of the same flaws and strengths the rest of us are, that no one is on a pedestal as we thought they were. There's something absolutely awesome about that. We are all capable of great things. This is Dan Riley. Thank you so much for tuning in, and so long.